Everyone, it is 7 o'clock and we should probably go ahead and get started. We have 3 attendees. Thank you for being here. We'll probably have a few more pop in as the minutes pass, but welcome. This is Plano Public Library's Protect Yourself from Identity Theft, Fraud, and Scams webinar. My name is Bob Lofton. I'm a librarian with Plano. Joining me for tech support is Sabrina. Sabrina, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone.
Very good. And our guest tonight is Brenda Rainey, who I will introduce momentarily. As you can see on the screen, your mics have been muted, so that is intentional. You can use the chat function in Zoom to ask questions. We will probably collect the questions and ask them on your behalf at the end of Brenda's talk. We do ask you to be very respectful in the chat room, of course, and there will be a video released of this, maybe not tomorrow, but the next day. So that will be on video. All right. So who is our guest? Well, Officer Chris Bianez with the Plano Police Department would normally do this presentation for us, but he was unable to be here tonight. So Brenda Rainey very graciously stepped in, and we're really happy to have her here. Brenda's a retired public relations professional with lots of experience in all facets of corporate communications. She was part of the Verizon Wireless, their first public relations team at its headquarters in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and for 13 years, the executive director of corporate communications. She has been quoted in Newsweek, the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, USA Today, Black Enterprise, and many tech blogs. She's a voracious reader, which we really like, and she's worked as a freelance book reviewer and has some reviews published in the Dallas Morning News. Brenda's got a bachelor's in journalism from the University of Missouri, Columbia, and a master's in media communications from Webster University in St. Louis. Today, she's a committed community volunteer with AARP and Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a public service nonprofit organization. She and her husband Marvin are avid golfers, and they live in Louisville. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and please welcome Brenda.
Hello, everyone. I am going to share my screen, and we will get started. Screen. There we go. Are we okay, Bob?
We are good.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for that introduction. You know, it's interesting when you hear people read about yourself, it takes you back a bit. As Bob said, I am Brenda Rainey. I am a volunteer, and I am passionate about sharing the information to keep people safe. We're going to go through a couple of things today in terms of what scammers look for, how they get us to a position where we can be scammed. And you see the headline here says the year of uncertainty. Well, this was created at the beginning of the pandemic, but scams only change. They don't go away. So the fact that this is talking about the pandemic specifically in some cases, and I will tell you when it varies. I have done this program for 6 years, and very little changes. The scammers change their targets, but they don't change their tactics. So we're going to talk first about how scammers follow the headlines, and that's why this is focused on the pandemic. It's the headline right now. We're all in sort of a heightened emotional state. We're kind of unsure what's going to happen. There's certainly a number of pandemic fears. Even though some are subsiding, there's still fears out there. Many are still feeling the economic pain from the shutdowns. Scarcity. We all remember the scarcity of the toilet paper, right? But we also know that if you look in the stores now, and I've noticed it, the supply chains have yet to recover. So sometimes the things that we think we need right now, they're not available. And of course, social isolation, which has its own share of fears and anxiety. So the top 10 scams of 2020, you see on the screen, Government imposter scams. Again, government imposter scams have been around forever. If you noticed around April, around the time taxes are due, you hear the IRS scams. People call you up and say something about you may owe taxes. We need to verify so you get your refund. All kinds of scams associated with government offices. During the pandemic, you got people calling with fake Social Security representatives, asking for information. And what's consistent about scammers, once they get your ear, they start to ask for personal information. And that should always be a red flag.
Oh, excuse me, could I pause you right there?
Sure.
Brenda, you mentioned seeing a screen. Were you sharing your screen? Because we can only see your camera right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was sharing my screen. So let me back up, go back. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay, so we had this practice and we did this right. So let's stop share and start over. Okay, can you see it now?
Since you pressed stop share, we cannot see your screen anymore.
Okay. That would be, okay. I'm sorry about this. Share screen.
Okay, we can see it now.
Okay, let's get this started. There we go. So let's go. Okay, so that's, you saw that on, you can see that on the screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let me catch up. This is the top 10 of 2020. These are the top 10 scams of 2020. Our government imposters, online shopping. More of us are shopping online now than ever. Tech support. Tech support calls have often come in. I don't know if any of you have had the calls from Microsoft. You get this call that says, I'm calling from Microsoft. I can see your computer and you have a problem with your computer. Well, let's be honest. Anyone who has a computer probably has some problem with the computer. Microsoft does not have a network. They're a software company. They have some hardware. They are hardware. They are not a network company. They're not networked to your computer. Fraudulent sales, and then online dating and romance. And we're going to look at these in depth. On number 8, phishing. I want to make sure I explain that because it's pronounced phishing with, like you would think with a poll. What it means is you get an email from maybe a bank, maybe it's Macy's, it's someone you've done business with. And it always has the logo, it's the look and feel of that company. And they're contacting you because they're doing a system update. Click this link to make sure we have all of the latest information. And the minute you click that link, they have your data because you're inputting the correct information at their request. Online dating, romance scams, when you're sitting in the home by yourself and you're online, it's very easy for a scammer to take advantage of that. So what does this look like? Well, from 2019 to 2020, we've had a significant increase in the number of losses. And the picture on the left is from the Federal Trade Commission study on reported scams in 2019. You see that there were 3.2 million total reports and 1.8 billion in total dollars lost. In 2020, that went up $3.3 billion. And we know that scams and fraud are significantly underreported. So these instances are probably just the tip of the iceberg. At the bottom of the screen, one thing you should notice is the scammers are targeting younger people. When AARP started this, their focus was to make sure seniors are not scammed, and they're still making sure seniors are not scammed. But the reality is more and more young people, and we say young, we're talking 20 to 29, they're online more, they're shopping more, they have children, so they're buying household products online, and they play games. If you play games where they have apps that have products and ads inside the app where you can purchase things, they're not getting sometimes not getting what they think they're paying for. And what's happening is we're seeing more and more young people being scammed. If you look, it was 33% in 2019, it's 44% in 2020. And we haven't gotten to 2021, right? But as of April of 2021, there were 492,000 complaints to the FTC, and about $435.5 million consumers lost, about that much, with the average amount lost at $350. And I want to stop and share something. In years past, scammers would come after thousands and thousands of dollars. They've gotten smarter over the year, and they've figured out that we are less likely to call and report $350. If it's $3,000 or $35,000, we're definitely going to call and make a police report. $350, yes, we'll be upset. Yes, we'll miss the money, but we're not likely to raise our hand so that law enforcement can go after them. But that's just what's reported. So, what are the common scams during the pandemic? Well, we've talked about what makes us susceptible, but what are they doing? Well, health and testing scams, ads and messages touting treatments, cures, putting you to the head of the line when it came time to get a vaccine. Now it's getting you to the head of the line for boosters. And the reality is you need to go to trusted sources, listen to your doctor, trusted organizations. Or things like Medicare is mandating testing, or they're fake testing kits, fake testing sites, fake cures. So the reality is check with your state and your locality on testing, beware of scare tactics or special offers, and don't give out personal information. One thing to remember, scammers always want more information than you really need to share. They'll ask for Social Security. They'll ask for mother's maiden name. They'll ask for things that you normally don't have to answer to just anyone. So the con, well, we also have charity scams, and charity scams are not new. I always say when disasters happen, the first people who show up are the FEMA people. The second people who show up are the scammers. You know, I lived through Hurricane Sandy in New Jersey, and the scammers there were so bad that there were public service announcements on television telling people to verify the people who showed up at your door, offering to fix your roof, repair the siding, and do all the things that people have to do when their home has been destroyed. Typically, they have high pressure tactics. Do it now. Give me the money up front. And they may use names similar to well-known charities. So example, the American Red Cross, they may say you're giving to American Cross. So what do? Before you donate, you can go to a couple of sites, charitynavigator.org, give.org. And these sites will tell you a couple of things. One, they will let you know if the organization is legitimate, but also they let you know what percentage of the money you give will actually go to the organization. You know, I got a phone call the other day. It was someone collecting for a scholarship fund for the children of police officers who died in the line of duty. Now that sounds certainly a well-known, a worthy cause, but you know, my red flags went off. I couldn't find them anywhere listed. But the other side is some of those places are for profit. You give them $100, 20 goes to the organization that they are supposedly supporting and raising money for, and the other 80 goes to sheer profit. These organizations can help you identify where your dollars are going, and if it's a worthwhile investment in your, if it's worthwhile to give them your money. Stuck at home scams. These are still going on. We're getting out of the house, but many people are still at home. So what happens? The scammers read the headlines, right? Home air duct replacement, sanitization. It's one of those things where you're in the house, suddenly you look at that bathroom tile and you think, man, I think I want to update that. Well, the scammers are out there to help you do it. So they will try every angle. The rule of thumb, screen your calls and don't engage with them, yes, but also go with your gut. You go to references, ask your neighbors, who are the reliable people to do the home repair. Certainly, we talked about romance scams. Unfortunately, people are scammed every day on romance sites. And many of these sites are legitimate sites. I know people who've gotten married from online dating sites, but sometimes the contact changes. And what happens is he goes, or I'll say he in this case, assuming the person on being scammed is a woman, but he goes from, oh, I really want to come see you, to, can you loan me the money to come see you? That should be a red flag for so many reasons. And then puppy scams. This one I just thought was awful. People wanted dogs or pets. So if they're home, while they're isolated, they wanted a puppy, and there were people out there scamming. Check here to get your pedigree, pick a breed, and guess what? You never saw the puppy. So we're going to go through the con artist playbook. So where did this come from? Well, when AARP started, they went to law enforcement and they asked for tapes. They asked for information that could be shared. And one of the things they wanted to find out was, what did scammers do to get us in a position where we could be scammed? We're smart people. Yet these scammers are able to con people every day. And the question becomes how? So, Sabrina, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I'm going to make sure when I change, I'm not sure I optimize my sound. So we're going to try this. And if not, I may have to stop, share, and optimize. So we'll see.
I'll let you know if it doesn't make
If you don't want to make up your mind right now, that's where I come in. I will make up your mind for you.
Can you hear it?
Anyway, I said I would not call unless it was a rare and definitely undervalued situation. Are you familiar with the $2.50 Gold Indian series?
This is enough money for you to go to your grave knowing that you went and did the right thing, and you can go and meet God with a clear conscience. Now, what do you want to do?
Are you stupid? I'm not trying to insult you, but are you mentally ill? Is there something wrong with you that I don't know about? Is there something physically wrong with you? Like, are you retarded? Are you overaged? Do you forget things? Is there something wrong with you?
Oh, you don't want to speak the phone up. Who the are you talking to on the phone? Hang the phone up on those guys and pick the phone up while I'm calling you. And stop the with me. Want me to come over again and set your home on fire?
You'll never, ever be anything. You're going to your grave a loser. A big loser. I think you're terrible.
So these are some of the calls that were recorded. You can see undercover audio recording. And these scammers use a lot of tactics. They use fear. They use, they start to be your friend. But at the end of the day, they will not let you go. They will not let you off the hook.
If you don't want to make up your mind
Here's
right now,
another one.
that's where I come in. I will make up your mind for you.
Anyway, I said I would not call unless it was a rare and definitely undervalued situation. Are you familiar with the $2.50 Gold Indian series?
This is enough money for you to go to your grave knowing that you went and did the right thing, and you can go and meet God with a clear conscience. Now, what do you want to do?
Are you still?
I think I read that one twice. Okay, so here's our con. This is Jimmy, and Jimmy's from New York, and Jimmy has something to say as well.
These are dangerous people you are on the phone with. Okay? Make no bones about it. I am a dangerous person on the telephone. If I choose to be fraudulent in my practices, there is nothing that's going to stop me from taking lots of money from people, period, the end. And there are many other people just as dangerous as me.
So Jimmy is one of those star scammers. He worked in over 30 boiler rooms scamming people over an 8-year period. And a boiler room is where scammers, it's like an office for scammers. It's just a room with the telephones and desks and people doing nothing but calling out, trying to get someone on the phone. And when they get someone on the phone, a live one, so to speak, that's when they go into their routine to keep you interested, to scare you, to get your money. So the all too human toll on this is billions of dollars are lost with little chance of restitution. And unfortunately, marriages are damaged by the effects of dealing with fraud. Can you imagine you're the person who has to admit to your spouse that you lost all the money in the 401k? And unfortunately, a lot of times they reach out to seniors, and what is the hook? This is an investment for your grandchild. You can pay for a grandchild's education. And every grandparent wants to help their grandchild. Unfortunately, even younger couples, it's an investment that will help pay for your child's college education. And the sad part is thousands die by suicide. We see it in the headlines every day. So what do? Well, AARP has set up a hotline. And I don't know that this is the actual lady who's there, but there are people like her who answer the helpline. It's the Fraud Watch Network helpline. They field thousands of calls every day. And what they do, two things. One, they connect you with resources. So if you've been scammed, they can help you in that way. And if you've not been scammed, but you have a question about a phone call, they can answer questions. And they can help record scams. Earlier in this presentation, you saw the #1 call that came in through the helpline. Well, this is the helpline they're speaking of. And I want to stop right here and make sure you understand that nothing I have said requires you to be an AARP member, nor is there a charge. You can go to the website, you can call the victim support. There's nothing here that will ask you for money. And if they do, hang up, it's not AARP. The fact is that the majority of financial crime goes unreported. And sometimes it's going to be up to us, and it's how we talk about the victims. What happens? A victim of a financial crime is as much a victim as a victim of violent crime, but that's not how society views it. Look at the language we use. We say she was duped. He fell for it. He got taken. They were scammed. I am sure as I was speaking, many people were sitting there going, I'm smarter than that. Violent crimes, she was held at gunpoint. They were viciously assaulted. He was brutally murdered. What happens is we blame the victim when it comes to scams. We blame the criminal when it comes to violent crime. This is some of the language we use that shames people, and it's why people don't report. I cannot fathom the level of gullibility it would take for someone to send money to someone they have never met. It's just beyond my level of comprehension. This is the kindest way I can express what I'm thinking right now. Very sad, but these women really need to have their heads screwed on properly. Good God, where has common sense gone? I know people are lonely. I'm lonely, but I'm not stupid. These are all the things we say, whether we say them out loud, we may think them. And the result is people go into their shell. They don't report the crime. The scammer is free to scam as many people as he or she wants to, and there are women scammers. But what if we flip the narrative a little bit? What if we said, falling victim is not your fault. It's the fault of the criminal who perpetuated the crime. I'm sorry you had to endure this. Let's talk through it to understand what happened so you will be able to spot the red flags of scams in the future. Now that sounds so official, but the bottom line is when we talk to people who are scammed, we need to draw them out. We need to give them sympathy, that the same sympathy we would give someone who is a victim of a violent crime. And we need to help them find resources. What we don't need to do is make them feel ashamed or stupid. It's not their fault. So fraud prevention from AARP, you see all of these tools. The publications, AARP Magazine and the AARP Bulletin, now those do go to members. So I want to be clear, those do go to members, but the website, the Fraud Watch Network Online Resource Center, and we'll take a minute to tour that in just a few minutes, is a one-stop shop filled with lots of information and resources to help you stay safe. The podcast, I went out when I was preparing for one of these presentations. I had never listened to the podcast, and I went out and listened to one. And it was a woman who received a phone call from someone who told her he was calling from her bank, and she needed to get her money out of the bank quickly to protect it. And she thought, oh no, this is a scam, except he knew exactly how much money she had in the bank. He read the last 4 digits of her account number. So she believed him. And she did as she was told, and it had disastrous results. He told her not to tell her husband or her children. And as the podcast goes on, the family is searching their community to find the mother, the mom who is being scammed, because the scammer said to her, take the money out the bank, go buy gift cards. That is the latest tactic for scammers. Go buy gift cards. No one tells you to pay a warrant for your arrest with a gift card. No one tells you to take your money out of the bank and put it in gift cards. But this scammer did, and he was very convincing. So if you know about a specific scam, you're 80% less likely to engage with the scammer. And if you do engage, you are 40% less likely to fall victim. I'd like to share a real life story with you. My mother is in her 90s, and a few years ago, she got a phone call from someone purporting to be her grandson. He's crying, he's begging grandma, please, please, please help me. Someone comes on the line and says, your grandson has been arrested with drugs. He's crossing into Canada from the US. And we know he is not guilty. However, he was with the person who is guilty. Therefore, you have to pay his fine. You can call me back at this number to verify. Well, it shook my mother up, but she was smart enough to just hang up the phone. Long story short, it was a scam, but she told someone. She happened to tell a friend whose daughter worked in a bank, and probably 2 to 3 weeks later, in comes a woman to take $10,000 out, and she whispers to the teller, this is to help my grandson. I don't want to tell his parents. Guess what? This teller happened to be the daughter of the woman my mother told. And thankfully, she was able to go get the bank manager, and together they convinced this woman that this was a scam, and she did not have to remove $10,000 from her account. So as we leave today, and I'm going to repeat this later, Share, share, share this information. There's nothing here that's proprietary. Share with everyone you know. So when you go to the Fraud Watch Network resources, what do you find? Well, you see all the scams that are out there, and they change every day. There are watchdog alerts. So if you look at the scam tracking map, you can put in your zip code and it will tell you the latest scam in your area. Again, this site is free. You do not have to be a member of AARP. You can go out here at any time. You put in your zip code and you can sign up for alerts. So you can get an alert where it says sign up for free watchdog alerts right here. You can get the alert that says scammers are targeting your area for, I don't know, tree trimming. Be aware. They may not be in Arlington looking for tree trimmers. They may be in Plano looking to tree trim, but it does vary. The Hollywood freelancers team up to take down a scammer. So there's real life examples of people who have worked together, and you get to hear this. I know we're all in tune now to listening versus viewing in some cases. So this will help you tremendously because you'll hear some of the stories. You'll hear some of them very inspiring. And then people who have been scammed have been very, very, very forthcoming. So the perfect scam is an informative look inside the hottest scams that get you, and it gets you up close and personal with both the scammers and the victims whose lives are upturned. If you're an experienced podcaster, you can subscribe to The Perfect Scam. This headline right here is a link on the website when you go there, The Perfect Scam Podcast. You can sign up and listen to those, or you can just listen to one or two independently. And at the end of this, you can always call the Fraud Watch Network helpline for guidance and support. When you go to that website, you will find a number of scams that have been identified, and they're with titles. Sometimes they're keywords. So the one I mentioned to you is called the grandparent scam. So you can go out there and put in grandparent scam, and it will give you a synopsis of what that is. You could put in IRS scam. It'll give you a synopsis of that. You can put in anything that you think is a scam, and that topic will pop up. So if you get a phone call from someone, what do? Most of us now are pretty good at screening our calls. But I will tell you, there's a whole generation that refuses to hang up on anyone. And I know we find that interesting. And certainly those of us who use cell phones, we've got our caller ID. But believe it or not, there's a generation out there that they don't do that. And if you ask your grandparents or great-grandparents, if you're fortunate enough to have them with you here, now you can, I gather you will find some who say, oh no, I don't hang up. But hang up, if not engage, but engage with caution, take down information, ask questions, and in the end, go to Fraud Watch Network helpline for guidance and support. So with that, I want to thank you for joining us. And if there are any questions, I can take those now.
So if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to type those into the chat, and we will ask Brenda on your behalf.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any so far. I have a question, Brenda.
Sure.
So this is kind of based on personal experience, but do you have any advice for folks who maybe have a spouse or a parent who is in the early stages of cognitive decline? I say this because my mom went through this, and there's a span of time where she seemed completely unaffected. I mean, we really didn't know anything was wrong, but something was wrong. So, do you have any advice for people on how to deal with that? Because it can kind of be an unknown problem for a while.
Yeah. And actually, Bob, I'm dealing with that right now myself. So I definitely understand. And there are a couple of things that you can do. If you are a person who can access their bank account, now sometimes they may not willingly give you the passwords, but if you can access their bank account and look at where the money is going, that helps you keep an eye on it. I don't know how computer savvy your mom is. I've heard a couple of stories. We got a phone call from the adult children of a woman who had been scammed out of $30,000. And the adult children said that their dad had passed away and left their mom comfortable. But if she was giving away $30,000 every couple of months, she'd run out of money. So what they had to do, because there was some cognitive issues there, they disconnected her phone and reconnected it with a new number, and then forwarded the calls to the sibling, to one of the children, to screen all the calls so that she could call out in an emergency, but people couldn't call in. Because sometimes, and I don't know how this happened, but sometimes if you get on a scammer's list, you're there for life. I think they just pass the list around. If it's a government issue, for example, someone tried to scam my mother out of Social Security checks. And since I keep mentioning my mother, you see this pattern here, she must have been on the list. But what happened, she got a phone call, a letter from Social Security verifying the address change. Now, my parents have been in that house 40 years. There's no address change. And when she saw it, she immediately called. Social Security had her come down. She and my dad went down, and it was in fact a scam. One of the things the woman at Social Security shared was that they tend to go after baby boomers. Why do they go after baby boomers? Because we don't open our mail. So by the time you get the notification, they've already gotten 3 or 4 checks. So there are a couple of things. You can make sure that you are listed, you have access to their bills, things that they are paying, so you know where the money is going.
That's good advice. Thank you very much. And we don't have any other questions at this point. I think that's it, unless we have some other questions pop up. It's really been very informative. Thank you so much for stepping in and doing a great job for us and our folks. We've got a thank you over here.
I see that. I just thought to thank you. Yeah. Steve McKeever, you're very welcome.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here with us and our patrons. And I hope everybody got something valuable out of this. And with that, I guess we'll say good night.
Okay. Good night, everyone. And thanks again for inviting me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.